Welcome one of the producers of Nickel Boys, Joslyn Barnes.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks so much. It's so nice to be here, and thank you for the land acknowledgement and also for making this accessible tonight. I think that the E in DEI sometimes stands for enlightened, and I think we have to continue this in the face of people trying to shut it down.
This film is based on an acclaimed novel, a beautiful novel by Colson Whitehead, but not every great book is destined to be a great film. So when you read this book, what made you decide that you needed to turn it into a film?
Well, this book came to us from my fellow producers, Plan B, Dee Gardner and Jeremy Kleiner, and also David Levine at Anonymous Content. I had produced Ramel Ross's first film together with him, Hale County, this evening, and they called me to offer the book to him, and we ended up taking the meeting together, and they offered it to us as a director-producer team, and then Ramel invited me to co-write with him, which was very kind. And I think when we first read the book, we were like, oh, this book is perfect. And it's just that it's also a story about great brutality. We've seen stories about great brutality. We've seen stories where Black men and young Black boys are brutalized, and how should this actually be a film was a big question that we had, and how, if we were to do this, how we would make this different. And Ramel had a vision for how he would do that, and so we decided ultimately to take that on, and they agreed with the vision. But yeah, it was a really considered decision, because when we first read it, we really weren't sure.
In terms of like the practicality of Ramel operating the camera, and then also having camera on the actors, like just walk us through how that kind of worked on a daily basis, and then sort of in the overall grand scheme of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the decision to shoot with what Ramel called the sentient camera presented some challenges, but also some really unique opportunities, because I mean, you're invited when you watch the film to sort of you're invited for your subjectivity, the viewer's subjectivity, to align with the subjectivity of the characters. So when you write for that and you shoot for that, you're also bearing in mind the return gaze. When you're talking to someone, as I'm talking to you, how you're reacting to me also changes how I react to you. And so actors are always told not to look at the camera, but in this case, that was different. And so, whether the rig was on the actor, or whether, Jomo or Ramel or our operator, Sam Ellison, were operating, they were always looking at what was in the frame. They were always directing what was in the frame, and they had discussions before each shot, because we shot the entire film in oneers. There was no coverage in this film. There's very little, there's a few thrown gazes, but really there's no coverage. And so that meant that they had to work out with the production designer and other people involved with the crew as to what the options were, where they would go. And that also gave them some freedom also to innovate and to move with wherever the emotion in the scene was going to lead them. And the cinematographer Jomo and Ramel have talked about this a lot on panels, and with much greater precision than I am right now as a producer. But there's a lot of interviews online about this if you want to really get into it more deeply. Yeah.
How do you, or did you have to convince somebody to make the movie? Like, tell us about how you got something this unique made.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they really took a flyer on us with the script, and we had this kind of running joke as we wrote the treatment, and then successive drafts. There were ultimately 3 drafts, but we had this running joke between us that, well, no one's gonna finance this. No one could possibly finance this. This is too radical in some ways. But Plan B had an arrangement with MGM, and Alana Mayo, Ed Orion, MGM decided to back the film, and really embraced the vision, the director's vision, and they really never blinked. I mean, it was amazing. We went through, the prep, the production, and all of the post, and were able to sort of de-silo each department and look at the holistic picture. And everybody supported the vision along the way. There were very few moments where anyone really challenged that whether it was going to work. It was more for us making it. We were the ones who were, most worried each day. But yeah.
Can you share any specific, really magical moments that you witnessed while making the film?
I mean, there's so many magical moments on this film. I would say, there's a great scene at the picnic table, which has been in some of the trailers, where Anjanou, who plays the grandmother, Hattie, is sitting, and where we became literally surrounded by crows. It was like a Hitchcock film. All of a sudden, there were all these crows, and she was giving this really, it was a really deep scene between herself and her grandson Elwood, and the crows just started, crowing. She just kind of integrated it into what she was saying and was looking up at them, and it was kind of strange. We had some great moments in the sound design as well, with the sound designer and the composers riffing together on how they would make the very layered design work. Sound has been a really important ingredient to both of Ramel's films, and so that's also. But I mean, there are so many moments that were really magical on this film.
Congratulations! It's such a beautiful film on your nomination, and
Yeah, really just wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.